Imagine your home, a place your family has lived for generations. Now imagine being told to leave, not because of war or famine, but because sheep are considered more profitable than you. This isn't fiction. This is the true story of the Highland Clearances, a brutal chapter in Scotland's history that saw a way of life systematically dismantled. The Highlands didn't fall in a single night. They were emptied slowly, glen by glen, family by family. This wasn't a natural disaster. It was a series of cold, calculated decisions made in warm drawing rooms in London, Edinburgh, far from the cold stone homes they were about to destroy. This is the story of how Scotland's heart was broken and how a culture was scattered to the winds. To understand the clearances, we first need to go back to a pivotal moment, the Battle of Culloden in 1746. This wasn't just the end of the Jacobite Rising. It was the beginning of the end for the traditional Highland clan system. For centuries, the clans were a complex web of loyalty. The chief wasn't just a landlord. He was a patriarch, a protector. His clansmen weren't just tenants. They were his kinsmen, his soldiers. They paid their rent not just with money, but with service and loyalty, ready to fight for him at a moment's notice. But after Culloden, the British government was determined to crush this system forever. The Act of Proscription in 1746 banned the wearing of tartan, the playing of bagpipes, and the carrying of weapons. The Gaelic language was suppressed. The power of the clan chiefs was stripped away. They were transformed from patriarchs into simple landowners, their minds turning from loyalty and kinship to a new, powerful idea sweeping across Britain: profit. This new mindset coincided with the agricultural revolution. Landowners across Britain were improving their estates, enclosing common land, and focusing on large-scale farming. In the harsh, rugged terrain of the Highlands, one animal proved to be a gold mine: the Cheviot sheep. These hardy sheep could survive the tough winters and produced high-quality wool for the booming textile industry. There was just one problem. Sheep needed vast, empty tracts of land. People, on the other hand, were now seen as an obstacle to profit. And so, the clearances began. The word clearance itself is deceptively clean. It sounds like tidying up. The reality was anything but. Families who had farmed the same patch of earth for 500 years were handed eviction notices. Their homes, known as black houses, which they had often built with their own hands, were systematically destroyed to prevent them from returning. Roof timbers were pulled down and set on fire, often with the family's possessions still inside. Eyewitness accounts tell of elderly and sick people being carried out of their burning homes and left on the hillside with no shelter. One of the most infamous episodes was the Sutherland Clearances, carried out between 1811 and 1821 on the vast estates of the Duke and Duchess of Sutherland. Their factor, Patrick Suller, was particularly notorious for his brutality. In one well-documented case, he was accused of setting fire to the home of a 92-year-old woman, Margaret Mackay, who later died from exposure. Though Suller was put on trial, he was acquitted, a verdict that sent a chilling message across the Highlands. The law was on the side of the landlords. The displaced people had few options. Some were forcibly relocated to tiny, barren plots of land on the coast, called crofts. Here, on soil too poor to sustain a family, they were expected to learn new trades like fishing or kelp harvesting overnight. Kelp, a type of seaweed, was burned to create soda ash, used in the chemical industry. For a time, it was a profitable business, but when the industry collapsed after the Napoleonic Wars, these coastal communities were plunged into even deeper poverty. The conditions in these new settlements were appalling. Overcrowding was rampant, and the failure of a single crop could spell disaster. This brings us to the Highland potato famine of the mid-1840s, which ran parallel to the more famous Irish famine. The blight destroyed the main food source for the crofting communities, leading to widespread starvation and disease. For the landowners, this was not a reason for charity, but another excuse to clear the land. They argued that the people could no longer support themselves and that emigration was the only humane solution. Ships set sail from the Scottish coast, bound for Canada, the United States, Australia, and New Zealand. These were not voyages of hope for most. They were voyages of exile. The journeys were perilous. The so-called coffin ships were overcrowded and disease-ridden, and many passengers, already weakened by malnutrition, died before ever reaching their destination. They took with them their language, their music, their stories, and a profound sense of loss, a sorrow the Gaels call Shona. This diaspora spread the Scottish people across the globe, but it tore the heart out of their homeland. Was there any resistance? Yes, but it was often scattered and tragically unsuccessful against the combined power of the landlords, the law, and sometimes even the church. There were rent strikes and land raids, where people would try to reclaim the land that was once theirs. In 1854, at a place called the Braes on the Isle of Skye, a group of women famously fought back against the police who had come to serve eviction notices. But these acts of defiance were usually met with overwhelming force. The landlords had the law, the police, and ultimately the military on their side. The clearances didn't happen all at once. They ebbed and flowed for over a century, from roughly 1750 to 1860, leaving behind a landscape of ghosts. Today, if you travel through the Highlands, you can still see the ruins of the cleared villages. You'll see the faint outlines of lazy beds, the potato patches that once fed a family, now overgrown with grass. You'll see crumbling stone walls that once formed a home, now silent monuments to the people who were driven away. These landscapes are hauntingly beautiful, but they are also deeply scarred. They are a testament to a time when profit was valued more than people, and a whole culture was forced from its home. The legacy of the Highland Clearances is complex and still felt today. It led to a massive depopulation from which parts of the Highlands have never recovered. It created a global Scottish diaspora, a network of people around the world who trace their ancestry back to these traumatic events. It also fueled political movements, like the Crofters' War in the 1880s, which eventually led to legal protections for crofters, giving them security of tenure. But these protections came too late for the tens of thousands who had already been cleared. The story of the Highland Clearances is a vital reminder of how economic forces can devastate communities and how easily people can be redefined as obstacles. It's a story of loss, of injustice, and of the incredible resilience of a culture that refused to be completely extinguished. The echoes of the pipes may be fainter in the glens now, but the story of the people who live there must never be forgotten. Thank you so much for watching. This is a huge and emotional part of Scottish history, and there's so much more to explore. What are your thoughts on this? Do you have family stories connected to the clearances? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video informative, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more stories from the past. See you next time.